everybody, welcome to Girls Game Shelf. Today we are playing Nations, the dice game. But before we get into that, I want to ask you to like and subscribe to our channel. And while you're doing that, I want to say thank you to Dice Envy. Dice Envy has sponsored us with a couple of pairs of their dice, which are beautiful. We get to raffle them off to our patrons. They're so heavy and so satisfying when they roll. Oh my goodness. So I'm really excited about this. Thank you very much, Dice Envy. We love you. And I'll put the link below in the description if any of you are interested in their beautiful dice. And that's really appropriate because Nations is a dice rolling game. Let's dive into how to play. In Nations, you are each playing different civilizations, and you're going to be using these dice to roll for different resources, to buy different buildings and colonies and advisors in order to make your nation the biggest and best that it can be. At the beginning of the round, the active player is going to roll their dice. These are the resources that you're going to have to work with for the entire round. On your turn, you can only do one action, so it's a pretty quick turn. I'm going to buy this colony right here. Colonies are buildings that you're going to put off to the side, and often they give you an extra resource that you can have for the rest of the game. On my next turn, I could also buy one of these buildings that upgrades my dice. But the great thing about this is when I purchase that, I can immediately take one of those blue dice and roll it. And this is another resource that I have to work with for the rest of the round now. If you decide to get yourself an advisor, they give you extra perks as well. Like this one will give me an extra reroll for the rest of the game. The last kind of building you can purchase is a wonder. Now, wonders have kind of a two-step process. You can, as my friend Azelle says, pay for the lot of land, but then you have to pay in stone to actually build it to reap the benefits of that tile. So here's Stonehenge. Let's say that I purchased it for one piece of gold. In order to build it, I would need to spend my stone on a different turn. So let's say that that's been built, and that's going to give me extra victory points and lots of great stuff. A round ends when each of the players are finished using up all of their resources. And then you head over to the scoreboard. First, you're going to score books. If you have any dice left over that have the book icon on them, then you can move your little marker up that many spaces. After everyone has scored their books, then you go to the victory points. And you don't get a victory point for every book that you had, but you get a victory point for every player that has less books than you do. So red would get 1 victory point, and yellow would have none. Then you go over to famine and war, although that's round 4. That's supposed to be round 1. Sorry. Same thing, if you have leftover dice that you have not used during the round that have either of these symbols on them, then you can use them to score extra victory points. The game goes on for 3 to 4 rounds depending on how many players you have, and whoever has the most victory points at the end wins the game. And that's how you play.
I think to learn the game was complicated by the rule book. I think the rule book felt dense and confusing and had examples that were not elucidating so much as they were complicating.
I was really intimidated by the rule book because I just kept rereading it and not quite getting what they were saying. I had to put out all the pieces and really work through it. Even for the setup, I was looking through it to try and find how do you set this thing up, and it's really tiny on the side. So yeah, that was a thing.
You know what? I really like that I understood it, if I'm being honest. Sometimes we play these games and I just never really get it. Like we played Cosmic Encounter and to this day, I watch that again and again and I'm like, what, how do you play this game? I still don't know. And I've played it. But this game, I felt like, regardless of how confusing the instructions were, I did understand what we were doing. And I liked it. And in my mind, I was building an imaginary nation. And how cool is it that I can have Israel and also the Taj Mahal? And who am I? What kind of a person has those things? And this is my economy, and my people really are starving because I don't have enough olives and I don't have enough swords. So we're a peaceful people. I thought that stuff was fun. I liked the theme. I liked the artwork. I thought it was cool that it referenced things that exist and things I don't really think about very often. And there were real people and historical figures. Melissa built Stonehenge. She still hasn't told me how.
There were no moments, I think, during it where I was like, ooh, theme is so great right now. It's just kind of, it's there and it kind of lends itself to the mechanic.
I like on the back of the cards for round 1, it's kind of like kind of like a faded photograph. And as you go through the rounds, it gets more color, so you're getting more into the present. I thought that was a really nice small detail on the back of the cards.
You know, there was a synagogue card. I like that a lot. It made me feel happy. Hey, there's an Israel card. Hey, there's a synagogue card. It just, I identified with that. I liked it. I didn't get the synagogue card because somebody else got it. Christina?
I like dice rolling games. They're fun because the dice are forcing you to do things or giving you resources. And I like, the suspense of what am I going to get? What am I going to have to work with? And I also super like that there's chits that you kind of have something that's stable, that you can, know that once I gain this chit, I always have this resource. So I liked the way those two things work together. What I didn't like is how disorganized I felt when I was looking at all those things.
There isn't a place to put your extra permanent sword book food collection. It's just, again, off to the side. And it would be nice with everything else having like a nice little spot to go in. It would be nice if those things also had spots to go once you got them.
I had Greece, and I didn't really feel very much attached to my country. Like, I forgot that I was Greece. It didn't really matter. And those little places where you keep your dice, they don't quite matter either.
You didn't have to put a temple on the temple space. You didn't have to put a farming innovation on the farming space. So they're labeled, but meaningless. I think that was just something that was there to add to the theme, but I didn't think it helped. And in fact, it was confusing because I was trying to match things up and I was constantly reminding myself, it doesn't matter, just put it here. So maybe if it was just an unlabeled picture, simple fix, that would have just made it just a little less cluttered in my brain.
Maybe that's a place where this setup could improve, but I don't mind it. I thought it was cool anyway. So I thought it was cool that once you acquired a chit, even if you used it in the round, the next round, when everything cleared out, you got to keep it, which means you bring something into your economy and it circulates. It stays in the economy. If you have that book, you always have that book. So you're always a little bit ahead of the person who didn't get that book.
I like the way it clicked along. I like the speed of it. It was over very fast. It's kind of like when you get into it and you're learning the rules, you think it's going to take you forever to complete this game. You think you're going to be playing it for 3 hours or more, but really it's very fast, which in the moment is a little frustrating, but that's good because then it makes you want to play again because you feel like you can, you're like, just one more time. We have the time to do it.
I like games where it feels like I have a puzzle to solve. I liked going through the game and building those resources and getting to kind of see the fruits of my labor give me the ability to get more resources and to conquer more things. It all felt really satisfying to me.
I know I've been critical, but I actually liked it. I like the speed of it. I like the mechanics of it. I would put it on the shelf.
Yeah, this game goes on the shelf for me.
Yeah, it goes on the shelf. I liked it a lot. I would definitely put it on the shelf. I want to play it again right now. Let's play again.
All right, that's our show. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Girls Game Show. Bye.